Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to BiblioTech On Air. I'm Rosanna.
And my name is Michelle.
And I'm Ruby.
And I'm Israel.
And today we're going to be talking about the book Yellowface by R.F Kuang, available on both cloudLibrary and Hoopla. So a little bit about the book. When best-selling author Athena Liu dies in a freak accident, her struggling writer friend June Hayward steals Athena's unfinished manuscript and publishes it under a racially ambiguous pen name. As June rises to literacy fame, she must maintain the lie while battling online backlash, guilt, and the consequences of cultural appropriation. It's a bit of a doozy right there.
Yeah. It is available on Hoopla and cloudLibrary. I definitely recommend checking it out. Along with R.F Kuang's other works, literary works, Babel, the Poppy War series. I mean, she's one of my favorite authors. I recommend her highly. First question. What was your overall impression of June? Why do you think the author chose to state in her perspective for the entire novel?
I think it's one to create this challenge of empathy and empathize with her, understand her, because that's normally what you do when you read these books and they're narrated by the main character. And I feel they did a good job at that. My overall impression of June, oh my God, girl, like, stop. Yeah. You're going to get caught. It's kind of like, when you're with your best friend and your best friend or something is like, I did this really bad thing. And you're like, you need to stop.
Pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. And they're just like, yeah, it probably is, but I don't know. It's just fun. And you're just like,
girl, gotta just wash your hands of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never felt empathetic for her. I'm usually a very empathetic person, but I was like, nah, this girl's horrible. She deserves everything that's coming to her. Like when there was a moment where they were close, or like the first outbreak when people started tweeting things and things like that. I was like, yes, cancel her. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, the first time, because I read this book two times. The first time, I think I was a little more empathetic in the beginning, then it kind of just went off. This second time around, man, nah. I did not like June at all. She was she's a horrible person. She's a horrible person. And she just like justifies herself to the very end, as we know, even like after like the whole everything comes out and she's called out, she's still justifying herself and trying to spin it in a way where she could essentially just make money, kind of, I guess, I don't know, save her face.
Like you gotta be a crazy narcissistic type of person to just ride with the lie all the way to the end.
She never learns her lesson at all.
I'm like, dude, the second I have a bad dream about it, I'm like, that's it. I did this.
Right? Like on your conscience. So, yeah. I don't know. But we do find Athena and June, right? They're friends since college, right? Maybe at some point they become acquaintances, but they still maintain that, semi-friendship. So were Athena and June ever really friends? If June held such contempt for Athena, why did she always agree to spend time with her? What do y'all think?
I didn't think that they were the definition of what we probably perceive friends and friendships. I think it was more of kind of like Athena didn't really have that many friends, and that was that one friend for her, and so she probably grabbed onto it a lot tighter than June probably would have. And I think it's well defined when you read the engagements that they have in the book and you see like how they explore their relationships. I think that's also a very telling manner of their relationship. But I definitely didn't get that they were like legit proper friends.
Yeah.
It was more of a convenience.
I could see why Athena would keep June, because like it's like having someone that is not really accomplished as you are kind of makes you feel better about yourself, but I was trying to think like, what would June get out of this relationship other than just feeling bad for herself? I know. What?
All those good drinks, dude.
Oh yeah, that's
the drinks.
Athena would pay
a lot of free stuff.
I'm like, because I remember when they were at the bar celebrating or whatever, in the very beginning, like June says it. She's like, "Oh, Athena always pays," and it's like, "Oh hell yeah, dude."
Also, the other thing that's interesting to think, since we've explored a bit of her mental health, I wonder like how much of it is because June cannot break up with Athena
Mm-hmm.
in a friendship, relationship. Because most of us would just be like, okay, let's just drop off this relationship. If he comes back, I'll tell him like, hey, like we're just not that great friends.
Yeah.
But with her, she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it made me wonder.
Like there was so much of that. They were already kind of invested. They knew so much about each other's lives.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
at that point,
She
It's
gets
just-
free drinks. She gets free dinner.
yeah,
It's interesting because it does like reflect how June how she did everything with like stealing Athena's work. She just invested so much time. She's invested so much in this friendship. It's just so difficult to break it off. Even in spite of it bringing her so much torment, and the cognitive dissonance that's present, it's just still, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm familiar with. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So definitely, they're not great friends.
definitely toxic.
Definitely. Yeah, especially because we learn when June goes to talk to Jeff, Jeff is like, dude, she was always talking mess about you. She was like, she called you a loser. And June is like, yeah, well, what can you do?
I mean, we didn't hear about like Athena pulling an Uno reverse on
Like stealing
June and
from
stealing
June.
a story that was personal to her. She was essayed, and Athena listened to her and was like, okay, I'm going to write about this and put it in my book.
That's right. I
See,
heard
with
about
that, it's like, where's the line between stealing an idea or getting inspiration from a moment?
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely. Yeah, that was a very good point. I don't think any of the questions touch on that. So if y'all do have more to discuss about that once we get later on in the questions, please bring it up. But as in terms of the next question, right? What were your thoughts when June watched Athena choke to death? Do you think she could have done more to help?
Yes.
Yeah, like I get you're scared and don't know what to do, but girl, like start whacking her. I don't know.
So like a little bit of exposition real quick. Athena and June, they're eating pancakes, post celebratory. They're having a nice little moment, probably the most sincere moment of friendship in their friendship. And Athena all of a sudden just starts coughing and turning blue, and she's choking on these pancakes, and June just kind of,
I mean, I think she tries like Heimlicking her a bit.
She
but
does try Heimlich, doing the Heimlich on her.
Did she grab her phone? I don't remember. To do anything? No, right?
No, she had mentioned like, what do I do? Do I search up on YouTube like how to do the Heimlich?
And then she was like, that might take more time. But I was like, do it. Like, you're already doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, like, something's better.
yes, girl, give us nothing.
no, for real. I was talking with another staff member that was also reading the book, and I had brought up, I was like, before I caught myself, I was like, well, at least she like tried saving her, but after what y'all are saying, it's like, yeah, if someone's dying in front of you, you're going to like do whatever you can.
well,
Athena should have saved herself. Maybe she wanted to die.
Exactly,
Who am I to get in the way of that?
I know.
But at this, because they're at Athena's apartment, and in Athena's apartment, June goes to the restroom and she sees the manuscript, and ultimately she steals the manuscript, right? Why do you think June stole the manuscript? In spite of everything, and seeing Athena die, she stole the manuscript. Why do you think she did that?
First, she excuses it as, right? Like, I'm going to publish it for her after her death, right? That's how she excuses it?
I don't remember.
I think she, I don't remember. I don't remember if she was trying to get like inspiration from it, or she was like, I'm just going to reread it so that way I can
do
I don't
edits
know.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't know what she wanted to do with it.
And then it just went downhill. Like, after all that stuff, like, it was kind of, for her, it was more of like, I can do this, I can do that. And if I do this, I'll have positive consequences. Yeah, and I think it just snowballed.
Do you think it was like an unconscious decision?
I think there's a possibility that because she couldn't save Athena, maybe she took the manuscript, and maybe in that moment she sincerely did believe, I'll publish this for her as, like as a weird way of kind of like doing my part since I wasn't able to save her.
Yeah.
But then, that just absolutely flies out the window.
Yeah.
And she just,
I mean, if you're in Stephen King's apartment and he died and he had a book written,
Hey,
there's
guys.
no way you wouldn't.
this is my cocaine fueled story.
Oh my god, dude. But yeah, so she does make up a lot of excuses after the fact, right? In so many different ways, not just in relation to the book, but in the consequences, the positive consequences that do come out of it, right? So as I stated, June gives herself excuses for everything. For instance, in her perspective, Athena's success is only due to her race. And when June steals her manuscript, she tells herself it isn't necessarily stealing, as she made her own edits onto the book. What do these delusions say about June's mental state and perspective on life?
Terrible person.
Yeah.
That's very giving. They're stealing our jobs.
Oh, yeah,
So,
you're right.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think this opens like to make it relevant to today's terms. I think it's quite easy to understand how do I say this? So I feel those people who are of a certain race cannot often empathize with people of color because different experience, shared experience. So when you think about like the DEI program, for an example, that's in the news now. So that was put in place to help people of color. Those who may not be part of those may see it as, well, that's not fair. They're getting privilege and blah, blah, blah. But they don't see the struggles that, people of color go through. So I think it's an interesting take that she had like culture and society also giving her that narrative of like, well, that's not fair. You can do it too. Yeah. And I think that's what also helped.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, it's interesting that, so Athena and June, they go to the same college, right? They take the same classes, right? So they do have some shared experiences, but what sets them apart is their cultural differences, right? And it's those cultural differences that allow Athena to, have a different perspective. So June came across very as, I'm owed this, I went to the same school. I'm just as good as a writer as her. It's just that I'm not prettier, or I'm not as like ethnic,
Yes, I was gonna say.
And it just felt like she was owed everything.
And I feel that happens today in society a lot. When people of color are thrown under the bus, a lot of it is like, yeah, well, I was owned it, or that's not fair. Like, that was a long time ago. We don't do it anymore. And yeah, it brought me very much to this. So yeah.
How do y'all feel the role social media played in affecting June's mental state?
Oh man, that's just such a parallel to today's culture.
Yeah, it's like, girl, don't read the comments.
She was thriving off of that. It's like she had some kind of kink shame or something. Like, she would just spend her time reading all the negative things about her. My goodness.
It's like she couldn't look away.
Yeah.
I feel like, that's also like a narcissistic
I was gonna
tendency.
say, yeah, so like connect that behavior to a mental state behavior, and I wonder how much that let's say she had an undiagnosed disorder. I wonder how much that social media was feeding into that disorder.
I mean, her publishing team too, like her team was just as bad, and they were like backing her up to be like, don't listen to them, like, you're in the right.
Which is not surprising, because we do find out later Danielle, she had her own little cancellation moment where it came up, where she said something negatively or in the wrong way about a certain ethnic group, and she was like, called out for it, rightly so. But it's not surprising to hear that when they were like covering for her, they were supporting
and when
her.
the one person who questioned it was like, no, maybe we should get like a second opinion on this, she fired her.
June was like, I don't like her.
I feel like that is such a very relevant real world thing that happens, especially like when it comes to something where it's like, well, we need a PR team, like a marketing. When it's like, you disagree with them, okay, bye.
Or like even with movies and TV shows, kind of like with intimacy coordinators, that wasn't a common thing until maybe a decade ago. And you would hear like actresses being like, I had to do this scene or else I felt like they were going to recast me.
Yeah, this so June is full of microaggressions, and not even micro, just straight up aggression, just straight up racism. So June is full of microaggressions towards the Asian community, especially anytime she is questioned for covering Chinese history as a white woman with no prior connection or shown previous interest in the time period, right? So what do you feel the author was trying to convey with June's attitudes and reactions?
Again, that white privilege, and like we were saying earlier, she feels like she's owed this.
I mean, like too, this brought up a good, or like reminded me of like American Dirt and that controversy, how it was a white woman writing about like Mexican immigrants perspectives, and things like that brought up a lot of controversy. And it's just like this book was trying to be like, well, when June was like, well, why am I not able to share this story? You know, I did the research, I did this and that, but it's like you didn't do that until after the fact.
Also, too, this is interesting, and I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry, Athena too. When Athena was talking about her own personal life with her Asian culture, didn't she mention that she didn't even have that
Strong connection?
Yeah. So that is interesting too that you mentioned. Yeah.
It's like she's just doing it now just because she has to.
Yeah.
Because she put out a book with it.
Like she starts doing all these events and like going
And then
to,
like especially that moment that Israel said that when she went to that elderly book club and was talking with that
the lady in
man.
the car, or the
Yeah, she talks to the elderly man who, I believe his grandfather, I guess was like in World War One? Was it World War One?
I thought it was like a more current.
Yeah.
It was a relevant war in which race was a factor.
Yeah, exactly. And she's just so overwhelmed with emotion from this man's story that he's sharing with her that she has to leave.
Yeah.
She has to leave. She's like confronted with the reality, like, oh, this is affecting people. This, you know, even, and that's that it affected them in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like,
And-
it was then where she was like confronted, like, holy moly, this is crazy.
And then like when he was saying like, thank you for sharing our history, thank you for talking about us, or like things like that. When he kept saying us, I was like, I wonder if he's like like me and you know,
because at that point,
and I'm like,
she
this
was,
lady's not,
you know, her name changed. They had the photo on there that was
Juniper
ethnically
song.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
Juniper song.
Yeah.
And the topic of her name change, right? So the publisher, right? We're starting to enter the publisher sphere, you know, how things work, because we do get some inkling of that, or not even inkling. We're in that world, how things work, why they choose certain books, right? So the publisher, Eden, right? Eden Press. The publisher decides that June should now go by Juniper's song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo. What are your thoughts about this, and what does it say about the publishing industry?
trash.
So my thing is this. My thing is like, okay, so you want someone that's ethnic looking, but when that ethnic looking person comes in, you don't want to publish
You don't give them the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, the publishing world is so odd. Another thing too that I remember reading once about, a lot of the times publishers, New York Times bestsellers are New York Times bestsellers because publishers pay to get them on that list. And I think it shows a prime example of how how sketchy, how corrupted the publishing world can be. And obviously it's not just publishing, like it's marketing, it's PR.
Yeah.
The
That's a whole
film
system.
industry as well.
But yeah, it's publishing, marketing, all of that stuff. It's a whole, I mean, it's a reflection of like society, you know, in the end, right? Especially within America, you know, they choose certain books, they pay for books to be New York Times bestsellers, which is totally unfair. So if one of y'all writes a book, I'm super rich, so I can definitely get that for y'all, okay? So just keep that in
Didn't they
mind.
mention
Nice.
too how like she was pretty liberal. She voted for Obama, and how they were
She's all
like,
proud,
oh
I'm
well,
sure.
right now after all her controversy and everything, her book is appealing more to the
the
right.
right.
Yes. So they were like, we're like, even
it's
though
all good, we're making money.
yeah, exactly.
I
And I was
forgot
like,
about
oh my
that.
god, this girl's just a sellout.
Which, I mean, is not surprising. It's a business.
Yeah.
You know, if there's money to be made, any press is good press.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, the publishing company is cool with it. If she had a little bit more of respect, she wouldn't be good with it. She would probably put out a tweet being like, "Look, I understand this is my book is resonating with a lot of right wing people. This is not for you." You know, just like straight up.
But I mean, when you go from like no one saying your name to her
Exactly.
name just being
Exactly.
everywhere, whether it's good or bad, she's not gonna care.
just run with it.
Yeah.
You got a bonus. Yeah.
Oh, dude, she did get a bonus from
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's
Exactly,
exciting.
exactly. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So when trying to write her next novel, June comes up blank until she finds idea from Athena, and she steals from her again. Why was June so addicted to stealing from Athena?
Back at it.
Back at it again. That's crazy.
I know a manuscript hates to see her.
Oh my
coming.
god.
Yeah.
Athena's manuscript.
I also feel it says a lot about her mental state. So, like, you can also say, okay, let's say addicted. You look at addicted and you think, yeah, like, what was her mental state
Right?
to just keep doing it? And
Yeah.
what was wrong with her?
Because her justification for looking at the rest of her Athena's writings was like, let me peruse, let me take a little look, see what inspiration I can get. And it turns out that she gets inspiration, but then she's called out for that inspiration.
Yeah, and this time it's like more severe, isn't it? 'Cause
Yeah,
they're like,
definitely.
you straight up.
Like
we can
she
find.
did the passage word for word, or she used that as her introduction
Yeah.
to her story.
Yeah, definitely. So she has no original ideas, and when she does, it's about her life. The relationship
Yeah.
between herself and Athena in like a different way, right? On the topic of Athena, what was y'all's impressions of Athena as a whole? What did y'all think about Athena? From the little bit that we got, right?
I feel like it was hard to like kind of create her character just because this was from June's perspective. So it's like, even though June was like, Athena wasn't a good person, like even her own writing was like
Flawed.
it was
Yeah.
very flawed and things like that.
Oh, so like the unreliable narrator.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty hard to kind of,
Believer.
yeah.
So I felt the author purposely made almost all characters intolerable. And I think Athena obviously is not an exception for that. That being said, I think that's a point. I think it makes you, like I said earlier, dissect like what you believe in, because it's like, well, yeah, but then Athena wasn't that good of a person. Like it would be different if it was like, oh, well,
She was a saint.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that wasn't the case from stories that we said and witnesses too. So that's why it's like it gave me permission, because sometimes I need permission. It gave me permission to not like Athena and not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't in the audiobook, she was British, right? Or like she talked
Athena.
with the British
Yeah, 'cause
accent. Why?
I think she was born in the U.S. and then she grew up
Her
in London.
family
She went to
traveled,
school
right?
there and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of.
That was crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved Athena. No, I'm just kidding.
I love
I mean, she was a celebrity though, so
She's definitely a
celebrities are
celeb- she's a
automatically
celebrity.
like given kind of that extra pass, like, oh, we
Yeah,
can overlook
definitely.
some of these terrible things that you've
Yeah.
done.
But we do find out that
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, just
That black mold.
Yeah, just as Athena took inspiration from June's experience in college, she did the same thing with
Yep.
Jeff, the boyfriend.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like you mentioned earlier, Ruby, like where's the line? Because like even like comedians come to mind. In
Yes.
stories that they say in their stand up. They do pull from their own experiences,
yeah.
but they also pull from like
Stories
things that they
they've
see,
heard.
stories
Yeah.
they've heard. And so there's a lot of like joke stealing, which does happen, but then there's also a lot of like overlap. And so I wonder where that line is. It definitely it gave us permission, right, to be like, yeah, Athena's not a good person either, but
You deserve
at this
to
point,
steal
who
her
is?
book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
No one's a perfect person.
especially in this book.
yeah, especially in this book.
The only one that was probably a decent person was Athena's poor mother,
Oh, dude, yeah.
which was another pivotal scene. That was
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
glad-
God. Yeah, that was really sad.
The fact that the mom kept looking towards June because she thought that this was her daughter's best friend. So like she kept looking towards for advice. Like when she wanted to donate Athena's journals and notebooks, and June was like, "Oh no,
I don't think she
you
would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be invasive to her, like her writing,
yeah.
her writing process.
I'll take care of these for
Oh
you.
my
Don't worry.
God.
Yeah, and then it got too real for June because the mom offers them to her, and June's like, "No, I'm good, thanks." But what I do like, and we get a perspective of Athena from Mrs. Liu, is that when the novella comes out and she's talking to June, June and the mom are talking. She's like, "Hey, so about the novella, I'm gonna change the paragraph, and the mom says, Athena wouldn't write that, and I like that. I like that because it gives us a little bit, yes, Athena is this person that does take inspiration from other experiences in her life, stories from other people that in their experiences, but she's a talented writer.
Yeah, she has that skill.
She is, sure, maybe, the publishing company was like, okay, we want an ethnic author, here's Athena, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's a great writer, but she has the skills, she has the skills. So we do gotta be fair to Athena, yeah.
In June, it seemed to, on a side note, but yeah, when it comes to skills, it seemed like June did not have the greatest skills to be a writer.
Like pretty mediocre.
Yeah, from the beginning.
It's like if the only thing you can write is from other people's work and you're just like, oh, I'm just throwing some pizzazz in there from this. That's me.
Maybe we should do some ghostwriting, like some
I
autobiographies.
was thinking that.
There's just the book world is so huge. Like there's comic book writing, like there's autobiographies. There's just all these things that you could do. It's
She
just
had
part
options.
of marketing yourself.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the climax of the book, right? So, what were your impressions of the climax, including the reveal that the former literary assistant Candace recorded June's confession about stealing Athena's work?
That was an intense scene.
I thought it was interesting. A lot of people didn't, like when I was reading reviews, a lot of people did not like the ending, did not like the finale.
Do you remember what they were saying?
What were they saying? That they just did not like it.
They thought that
It was very
like all of a
fast
sudden.
for me.
Yeah.
It was very fast, out of nowhere.
Yeah, and also too, I remember reading one, and they had said something in regards of like, I was expecting a positive ending, like where she learned her lesson and that was it, and she didn't really get that, and so a lot of people were just like flustered by that because they were just like, then what is the point?
But I mean, that's real. Like, if she is a narcissistic person, they're never gonna learn their lesson.
Like unless she gets help or has someone talk sense into her. Like
even if
then.
someone slaps her and it's like
she goes to
Yeah.
jail. Yeah, like look at all the people that have gone to jail that have had like corrupted startup businesses, and they get out and then they do it all over
Exactly.
again.
I mean, I liked it. I liked the fact that there was this ghost haunting her because she was already thinking that in her head, and the fact that someone in real life was trolling her too. I was like, yeah, I liked it because it like she has some sort of conscience.
Yeah.
She has some sort of guilt trip. She's not just doing this like and living her life. Like there's something eating at her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do y'all think happens next for June, right? Because the book ends with her in the hospital. She leaves the hospital and she has a plan. She's like, I'm going to get back at Candace, because Candace goes on to,
and then she's like, I'm going to write my own story.
She's going to do it. And she's going to be successful, because I think a lot of what this book stated was that just like our society allows people who are in scandals, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, it depends, but our society allows people that have been in scandal to be forgiven. And sometimes, I think we're seeing it a lot now, but sometimes we allow them to get back up and do it again and not have consequences, and other times we allow them, and then they, sometimes they learn, sometimes they don't, whatever. But yeah, I feel like this was a very relevant story to that situation.
Yeah.
I thought automatically she's going to be successful.
Oh yeah, she's made a name for herself.
Definitely.
I mean, with this scandal, that's just going to give her what she wants again. She's going to be trending. She's going to be in the topics, and like she has an audience there.
Yeah,
like,
I was like, she has her fans. She's gonna have her diehard fans. They're gonna defend her no matter what she does.
Exactly, and the publisher is going to see this as like, oh, we're going to make a good buck with this.
This is tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll skip that last question, but let's get into our ratings. Out of 10, Ruby, what do you give Yellowface by R.F Kuang?
I would give it 10 out of 10.
Nice, I like that. Rosanna?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Very good.
Are you racist? I'm just kidding.
Michelle?
Yeah, I would give it 9, mainly because, there were some times when I was frustrated with it, but I would give it 9 only because of that.
I would, knowing R.F Kuang's other literary works, and she does have a book coming out in this August, actually. Shout out. Catabasis or Catabasis. But I would say 9 out of 10 because of the ending. Especially the climax with Candace and all that happening. It's just so fast. It was just too fast for me. It was just out of nowhere. I think it was all within one chapter. I would have liked to see more of her descent, June's descent into like madness. And R.F Kuang does do a good job. Like she's checking Twitter and all this type of stuff, you know, but like maybe like some hair pulling, you know, maybe some like, I don't know, maybe throwing up, you know, things like that.
Plucking her eyelashes, her eyebrows.
You know,
God, yeah.
I would have liked to have
Dyeing
seen
her hair, bleaching it.
Shaving it
yeah,
off.
you know, but yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. It was
Yeah.
great. I would recommend it, highly recommend it for a book club. Recommend it if you just, you know, you want something different, if you're just doing horror,
Yeah.
or if you're just doing like nonfiction, you know, you want something quick, fun, easy to read. This is your
Yeah.
book.
It's great
Really
for a
was.
discussion too, as you can obviously.
Yeah, definitely. But with that being said, that does end our discussion for Yellowface by R. Kuang. It is available on Hoopla and cloudLibrary. So if you're a Bear County resident and you don't have a BiblioTech library card, I don't know what you're doing, man. You're missing out.
Sounds like a you
Yeah.
problem at this
Yeah,
point.
we did get new designs. We have 4
Yeah.
new designs. So if you have a BiblioTech card already and you would like one of our 4 new designs, I'll go ahead and prop them right here so you'll see them right there. Come into one of our 4 locations. We can set you up with a new one. Or if you just want access, we're a digital library, you want access to all these books, go to our website, bibliotech.org, register right there, and you're all set. You have Yellowface and all the other books available to you as well.
Right, so that ends it for us. Once again, that was our discussion about Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'm Rosanna,
I'm Michelle.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Israel.
and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.